Indeed, the light code in your eyes, I suppose. I am Rockin' Larry Locken, and you are tuned into the Larry Locken Show. It is good to hear from everybody, or actually to see everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit about light codes for those of you who don't know what they are. When you hear the term light codes, you hear it a lot in the starseed and lightworker community. A lot of us are seeing these light codes, and we have been for years. These are patterns of, best way I would describe it, these are energy frequencies that you might see. They're patterns. They're light that carry information. They influence and help with your spiritual evolution. They activate certain parts of your DNA. They sort of help you to reprogram in a good way old paradigm ways of thinking. Such as, I'll give you an example. For instance, being more of a empathetic mindset instead of a sympathetic mindset. And again, the difference with empathy and sympathy. Empathy is really putting yourself in the position of that person, placing yourself there, or maybe it's something you can completely relate to because it's something that you may have gone through before in your life. Whereas sympathy is kind of like, oh, well, I feel bad, gee, gosh, I feel bad for that person, but oh boy, I'm glad it's not me, So that's not to get off on a tangent, but that's kind of the difference, like the old paradigm, being more of a responsive type of a person instead of reactive. You know what I mean? Respond, don't react. Again, put yourself in the person's position. You're responding to help them. You're not just having a reaction like, oh my God, oh shit, I got to take care of this, or oh God, not again. You know what I'm saying, like that? It's different. Light codes carry their own frequency. Light carries its own frequency. We're just not quite evolved yet enough as a human race on Earth to hear the sound of light on a continuous basis. I'm sure there are people that have practiced really hard various spiritual techniques and things of that nature that can put a sound with light, or they can hear light to a point, but I guarantee you even they're not sitting in their house and on a busy street, oh, that's a yellow car that drove by, oh, that's a blue car that drove by, or if not, if there are, hey man, put yourself out there. Really, there's plenty of money to be made by showing that to everybody. But we're working on being able to hear these sounds, and as the planet becomes more vibrant, more as we ascend up in, as the planet ascends in vibration, picks up into, higher dimensional capabilities, colors will become more vibrant and bright, but at the same time, there'll be less really about the visuals of them, more so the sound and the visual light codes that you will get out of these. It will be the other things that they do for us and that they do for us. It's just that we'll be more aware of what they do. That they are a perfect way to connect yourself with the higher dimensions. In fact, there's really not a lot you have to do, because when you see these light codes in various forms, that is the higher dimensions trying to communicate with you. You're getting a message. Whether it's in a widespread message that only certain people are getting, or if it's just for you per se. I'm sure it's a little bit of both there. Hi everybody on TikTok, hi everybody on Facebook Live on the Pleiadian and Angelic Rainbow Orbs page, and hi everybody on Twitch. Okay, those are the 3 platforms I'm on right now. But hello TikTok, much love. So, like I mentioned earlier, it also helps activate your DNA. This is to kind of reinvigorate genes that have been repressed in you, things that you have forgotten, things that have been closed off, things that have been shut off when supposedly the double helix of the human being was unplugged, leaving, 2 of the major portions of the 2 parts of their helix were unplugged, okay, which all carry endless codes, but it even magnifies it more when that helix is plugged in together. But when it's unplugged, it's not quite the same. We're not quite the same. Light codes are sort of like there are personal They can serve as a personal fingerprint as well. And that's another thing with fingerprints. I was thinking the other day too, I had put my fingerprint on something I don't know, I smudged it on, I think one of my tablets or something like that. And I got to thinking, I got to looking at it, and the sun was hitting it just right. And of course it was reflective of rainbows, of the rainbow colors. And I was thinking to myself, you know, our fingerprint, that's like our God code, our individual key to the club of all being part of that God that is, which is all one, and it's all within all of us, right? That fingerprint is probably the answer to lifetimes of different questions from various lifetimes we've had, whether they've been here on Earth, whether they've been in the cosmos, a little bit of both. Your fingerprint says so much more than just being a tool to find you if you're missing or if you're wanted by the FBI or the CIA or, you know, whoever, or the police or Interpol, anybody like that, right? It is your personal stamp, your personal God stamp, that fingerprint. And I'd never seen it really reflect all those colors like a rainbow prism before, and I got to thinking, those look exactly like light codes to me. Your spiritual evolution is aided the whole entire way through the process by these light codes. It's just that then when you start to become, you kind of go through these phases of where they're around, you might get photos of them, you might start noticing them, right? And then you're really infatuated with them for the longest time. And then it comes to a point in your spiritual evolution where they're just there all the time, and you realize that, but you don't give it a whole lot of thought except for the fact that you're receiving, because you're open to receiving those codes and the information that it's giving you. And I imagine that it gets to a point where you know, either the light by itself will work or it'll be symbols. A lot of people see geometric symbols, geometric patterns. Some people that are evolved see them more so than others. Some people see more of just the light. Some people see a light based with all these colors, with all these different symbols, geometric patterns, even faces of, you know, who you might have been in former lifetimes, faces of guides of yours, faces of family members of yours that might not look exactly like somebody would on Earth. Okay, they have a different look to them, right? So you see those. You can hear it through sounds. You know, a lot of pulse tone sounding, like a lot of Pleiadian inspired music, like which mostly comes from about the late 60s through the early 70s, early 80s, most of their inspired music. Some of it later on. You can hear it through various music here and there later on too, with it's kind of little vibrating pings and little pulse tones, and it's in, you know, various styles of music. Probably mainly like electronica and, well, disco and, you know, certain alternative types of music, but as well as in mainstream rock and roll too. You can hear their pulse tones from especially that era. Still, even later on in different musicians, a lot of musicians have a connection to the Pleiades. So, you know, and it's really doesn't matter what kind of genre they're in. There are people that are influenced by the Pleiadians in all types of different styles of music, mainly of like, I wouldn't say too much country music. I wouldn't say that that's the case, but anywhere from, I don't know, you know, disco to grunge to soul to different kinds of alternative, you know, anything, to hip-hop even, quite a bit of hip-hop. Okay, all these things are influenced as well by light codes and sound codes. These codes are sort of our bridge to speaking telepathically. It won't just come to where we're in a society all of a sudden where we're speaking telepathy with no words being said. Light codes geometric patterns, different symbols that, you know, might float through the air or might come out of the side of your eye that you might see, like with your peripheral vision. Those things are somehow our gateway to a telepathic society. And it's like that, and it's with a society where less is less said. There's less really that needs to be said to each other because everything's more understood. You see it a lot with the generations of kids that have been born since the turn of the century and right before. They're more telepathic in the way they do things. They just kind of, everything just kind of is, and they're more out of an enlightened state of awareness, if that makes sense, right? So that's sort of how that goes. But I just wanted to get on and talk a little bit about and mention that real quick about what light codes are and what light frequencies do. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's late where I'm at. It's 3:30 in the morning. It's probably early where most of you are listening from, like on the East Coast or wherever you're out of. But that's what light codes do, and we'll talk about it a little bit more another time. But I am Rockin' Larry Locken, and you can find me on Rockin' Larry Locken social media outlets. That's my Facebook page that will show everything I'm involved in. The YouTube channels, the Facebook groups, the Facebook pages, different social media outlets, and things of that nature. But the main page I'd like to give a plug to, which is coming from where we're coming from right now, is the Pleiadian and Angelic Rainbow Orbs page. And that's on Facebook, and I'd like to give everybody much love, and thank you for giving me your time, TikTok, Twitch, and Facebook. But enjoy those light codes. When you start seeing them show up in photos, I wanted to say this is another thing. You start seeing them show up in photos that you're taking. Okay, that means something. Pay attention to them. Start looking at them. Don't just buy from people like family and friends that they're lens glare or camera flare or camera glare, lens flare, or the opposite, or even Ric Flair for that matter, the professional wrestler. Don't even buy that it's him. Of course, I'd more buy that it was him than it was just a glare. Now, of course, if something's smudgy on your lens and dirty, of course, clean it off. I mean, don't get into looking through a speck of dirt on your glasses and things of that nature. But when you're looking at through a clear lens, right, and you see a reflection of light that looks a little different, understand that there is light in that life. All light is life. All life is light, and back and forth again and in between and all that good stuff. So yeah, don't just because that's the first thing that's going to happen is you might show some really cool picture of a light code to somebody, and they're going to go, it's camera glare, camera flare, lens glare, maybe even, of course, Ric Flair. So don't just dismiss it as that, and when somebody says that to you, consider the source who's telling it to you. You know what I mean? Consider their evolutionary growth path in the mind. Take a really good look at somebody that would make that comment to you, and think about, no matter how smart they are, think about how evolved they're probably not in the head. And, without any judgment, just take it into consideration, right? And leave it at that with them. And I wouldn't, get all excited to show those people a whole bunch of pictures, because you know what they are, right? There's some things that might just be like an angle glare or a glare off of your camera light or whatever. Okay, the camera, I've had people sit there and fuck around with their camera and mistake the camera light for an orb time in and time out. And it happens. It's okay. That's fine. But, it's pretty easy to spot. But like I talked about last time when I was on here about some of these light codes that are coming down from Arcturus. The Pleiadian ones are more orb-like, completely like what you would think of as stereotypical orb. The orb light codes that come down from Arcturus are, like I described, they are kind of like a blue, purple, or green vase. These are the colors I've seen them in. Blue the most, but green and purple too, and a mixture of green and purple that just kind of hang in the air. They look like a vase that either somebody, to me what they look like, and this is just me, they look like somebody's either trying to make a vase out of it or a bong out of it to smoke weed out of. That's what they look like to me. or some kind of a fancy candle holder maybe. Or even I don't know. I've seen ones that look kind of like maybe even an extra long, extra thin, if you can believe it, champagne glass. It's color blue. So they look sort of something like that, right? Or some of their orbs look like they're blue or green or even purple steering wheels is what their particular orbs look like. Yeah, that's right. When I talked about the orbs, the light beings the other night, I talked about that. But that's what a lot of these light codes are. These Arcturian ships, like I said, that hang down like that, they are also usually flanked by a ton of light coming with them, you know, of 12th dimensional light heading with it. But those are what that is, and that's what it all is, and it's late, so I'm gonna get off here, or else I could ramble on all night. But much love to everybody. TikTok, Twitch, Facebook, the world, Instagram, Telegram, GoBuyagram, all that good stuff. Snapchat, UChat, WeChat, HeChat, purple sky, tie-dye sky, orange sky, blue sky. My friend Nate, who loves lemonade. Now, man, I better go to bed. I'm gonna need my meds. I don't really need any more street cred, but I'm on thread, so that's good. All right, we're out.